So boom, there I was, driving down a far distant state highway, not knowing where I was, and it hit me like an epiphany. That's where I figured out my idea. So it always occurred to me, why do we have all of this acreage and nothing to do on it, except for enjoy it, of course. Because we do enjoy having the land and doing all the cool things on it. We do walks through the woods and ride quads and motorcycles and even the occasional tractor. Other than to enjoy it, what are we doing? Looking at it? There's gotta be a better way, I thought. So as I'm driving for hours and hours and hours on my way back from vacation, I decided there's gotta be a way that we could use this land for good and not evil. There are many things that we do on the homestead these days that we never used to do at all. There's things that we used to always do out here too, for generations and generations. We've always done a lot of farming and we've done a lot of hunting. And that right there is why we're always doing the hunting, because the deer are around here. We've always had this wonderful woods and I always wanted to do something more with it. So finally, Candace comes to me one day, she says,
"Hey Eric, what if we tap trees and make maple syrup?"
I'm like, dumb. About a year goes by, right? And this is when I'm taking my trip. And I thought, hey, what if we made maple syrup with all these maple trees that we have out on our wooded acreage? And it's kind of funny because I came back home and said, hey Candace, I had this great idea. She was not impressed at all. So soon after, one of the things we started doing here at Gagne Farms was tapping our maple trees for maple syrup. And that was something that was quite the experience, let me tell you. Neither one of us had ever tapped a maple tree. The closest I got to maple syrup back then was eating some Aunt Jemima syrup out of a syrup bottle at a restaurant. It was never something that we did here as a family. It wasn't a generational thing. This is not something that I grew up doing with my grandparents. That meant everything that we did, we had to figure out on our own. And while I love a good challenge, figuring this one out and making it profitable was gonna be tough. So I decided to jump on the YouTubes and figure out, how do I make maple syrup? And oh boy, did I get a lot of awesome videos. I figured out ways to make maple syrup that I've never even heard of before. Ways that the Native Americans have made maple syrup for centuries. New ways to make maple syrup out of all sorts of fang-dangled equipment. And then the way I was gonna make it. And that was where we started. The first year we started, I had a real simple rocket type style stove with some cinder blocks and some small pans, and that worked out really good. And that's where it all changed. See, from there on, we got bit with the syrup bug. And not only me, but Candace as well.
First tree of the season.
And not only Candace, the kids helped too.
I did it.
It doesn't look like it all the time, but they like it. After that first year, we got a little taste of the sweetness of that syrup that we had made all by ourselves on our land. I spent all that year trying to figure out better ways that I could come up with making my own syrup, with also staying in our financial means. It's a slow process when you're starting something from the ground up. You can't just jump in and spend all the money you don't have on equipment you haven't built yet. So by the end of our second year, we were making gallons of syrup. And not only that, we were making it off of equipment and processes that we had learned over the first couple years of making maple syrup. By the time year 3 rolled around, I knew I couldn't keep doing this any longer the way I was doing it. So I had to find better methods to make this maple syrup because it was killing me. That was when we got our RO system up and running, and that has worked fabulous. Hands down, one of the best time savers I've ever had. And from there on, we just kept refining our process. We were really starting to get some clientele built up. Everybody loved our product. I was selling out a syrup faster than I could make it, which is a really good thing. But with syrup, it's real tough because you can only make it one time of the year. It's not like I can go out in June and start making syrup. So that just means you need to make more of it in the spring, right? After we got the RO system up and running and it was working fantabulous, we never made as much syrup as we did those first couple years. I decided, how can we make it better? Because if you know me at all, once I figure something out, I'm gonna make it better, and then I'm gonna make it better again, and then I'm gonna make it better again, and then I'm gonna make it better again, and then I'm gonna make it better one more time. And after that, we're gonna make it better again. So next we got our vacuum filter press. Our quality of syrup, which was already outstanding, flying off the shelf, I couldn't keep any around even for us, as how good it was. I made it better with the vacuum filter press. That vacuum filter press has been awesome from day one. We have made some of the clearest, most tasty syrup in the whole county, hands down, bar none. So this year I got something up my sleeve that's gonna increase our productivity by 100%. And although I'm not really ready to show you exactly what that is yet, I think you guys have a sneaky suspicion of what it might be. Go ahead and leave your guess down in the comments. I'll be shooting a video of that very shortly, since we are starting to finally get some nice weather around here in Michigan. And just the other day, I got everybody out to do a little bit of tapping. So with this year's improvements, I think we're gonna be doing our best year yet. We've also expanded our sugar bush quite a ways out into this woods right here. And I've got one more place on the other side of the house that we may even expand into, depending on how our season's going. If I can keep up, I'm gonna go throw another 20 or so taps in, and we're gonna hit a record. I'm telling you, we're hitting a record. So Candace and I are trying to get this farm back to where it once was years ago. And by that, I mean a sustainable, profitable family farm. I don't think we're that far off. We're doing really well. We've came a long way since we started. But just like our relatives did, we have to start small, and we have to work our way up. We can't start at the top and grow from there. It's been one hell of a journey so far, guys, and I am pleased to bring you guys along with us. So now we finally feel that our woods is actually helping us around the homestead. Not only with just the joy of having it and the wildlife that it brings us and all the times that we get to spend outside in our chunk of woods, but now it's making us a little bit of cash too, so we can continue to enjoy it. We're actually turning our unfarmable land into something that we can make a little bit of cash off of. And in this day and age, if you don't have like 7,000 chickens, you're not gonna make it. If you guys wanna see how we increase our productivity this year, make sure to follow along, check our videos out, hit that bell for notifications. All right guys, we'll catch you on the next one. You know, Gagne, there's about 9,000 things you could have said, probably a whole lot different. But you didn't tell them everything, did you? I thought it was, but I got so many ideas floating around up here, it's hard to tell all the stories at the same time. I know, man, but you gotta dial it down, one story at a time. You can't throw the whole cake out there when everybody just wants one piece.
First tree of the season.